This is the third and last part of my videos, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rule set, looking at the rule set through a historical philosophical perspective. We started here. We spoke about a little bit of history. We mentioned the Japanese feudal caste system, creation of Kodokan, Judo, background of the arts, the styles of Jiu-Jitsu that existed and which influenced the Jigoro Kano, and also we spoke about Gracie, Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese going to Brazil. We mentioned rule set as well, how uniform can influence style, how rule set can influence style. We spoke about Kozen Judo. Here we have just Kozen. Philosophical backgrounds difference between Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, and just to remind us, because you have two parts, Judo and Jiu-Jitsu have two parts. With Ju, it is yielding, softness. And then you have Jitsu. Ju is sometimes gentle as well. No? Gentle. There are different meanings. Then you have Jutsu, which is an art, a skill, an effective skill. And then you have Do, and Do is a way, a path, more related to development. And in practical terms, so there's a philosophical difference between Jutsu and Do. And Jitsu, it's more about combat efficiency. It defines the martial aspect on itself. And when there's this change to Do, is more about physical education, moral development, discipline. And then in the Do part of Ju, you then have the philosophical foundations of Kodokan Judo, Seiryoku Zenyo, and Jitakyo Wei, maximum efficiency, and mutual welfare and benefit of society. So there's these philosophical differences, and in Brazil, with the Gracie family, they were more about the effectiveness of the art itself. Jiu-Jitsu being a means, a tool, an art, martial arts for the weak to defend himself against the strong, against the bully, and to prove that Jiu-Jitsu is more effective than other martial arts, basically. If you compare to karate, taekwondo, capoeira. So then we had this timeline, and in this timeline, history of Jiu-Jitsu in context of rule set. And then from the 19th century, we made a comparison between rule set development, comparison of rule set development between Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. Just going through it, my notes here. And now there are a few things that I would like to focus on today's rule set, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rule set. But there's just one clarification that I want to make, because I said that Jigoro Kano's family, they were in the sake business, no, brewing. They make sake, they make liquors, and the Kano. Just the clarification: the Kano surname is from his father, that Jigoro Kano gets from his father. However, his father's original surname, birth surname, was different, because originally Jigoro Kano's father is from a priestly family, Shinto family, and they are not samurai. And then the father is adopted by a merchant family to run the family business. And something that happened, if you don't have a hair, which has a male hair, you need someone to to carry on with your business. There's a name, right now I don't have it on the top of my mind, is this very long tradition of families, business families, that they last for hundreds of years. They're like artisans that this business have been going for over 100 years. They're something that happens in Japan. And so the father, he changes his surname to Kano. And of course, Jigoro Kano inherits the surname from the father. Jigoro Kano's wife, she was daughter of someone that involved in politics, in foreign affairs, and if I'm not mistaken, he was in the consulate between Japan and Korea. And back to Jigoro Kano's surname, changing the name, it was something common in Japan. People would adopt other people into the family for different reasons, and one person could have different names throughout their lifespan. When they are young, they have one name, and then adults, they may change their name. So throughout someone's life, this person would be known by different names. Okay, so something that is a little bit complicated for us to really grasp, but it's something that happens. And let's continue. I think that we can close this chapter. Okay, let's look at rule set for us to finish this videos. We have to look at rule set, today's rule set, and see how it goes. And let me make, I'm gonna make here frame, maybe, okay, let me get a square, rectangle. Okay, this rectangle. We today, thinking about rule set, we need to take into consideration IBJJF. Gonna make it a little bit smaller here. Good. I think that's a good size that you can see. You have to make a distinction because IBJJF and ADCC. We are going to cover only these few. There are other rule sets, but they may be a variation of those, or they may not be as relevant as these two rule sets. They have different point systems. They are similar in certain things and different on other things, so they have to be treated differently. Okay, because it can lead to lots of confusion when you work with different rule sets, because you may measure a fight by the wrong rule set and you get the wrong measurement. Imagine that I am very familiar with IBJJF rule set. I am also familiar with ADCC rule set, but however I have much more experience with IBJJF rule set. But I have to be very careful when looking at a fight and making any type of value assessment or measurement, because these two things are different. The point system for IBJJF is different in terms of advantages, which you don't have in ADCC. No advantage. Let's write this down here. Oh, wow, so it's big. So this is the first difference, because advantages. No advantages, okay? So this is a huge difference, because IBJJF, you may have, let's start from the takedown, for instance. You almost score a takedown. Almost score takedown. Okay. You would have one advantage. ADCC, no. The forbidden techniques, okay, and we're talking about adults black belt. There are different types of forbidden techniques and in IBJJF and ADCC. Until recently, something that I would like to know is slumming. No, slumming. Okay. And until recently, slumming, it was allowed when in a submission lock. Okay, so it was allowed, and interesting a lot was allowed. It was allowed until this week. I saw this week a post by ADCC official account and saying that al-salamin is no longer allowed. So it was. So I haven't seen this into effect yet, but based on what I saw this week, no longer allowed. Okay, so it was allowed. Heel hooks. Heel hooks, no in the gi. Okay, no in the gi. Now recently, last year, 2024, no gi. Okay. So it makes these two changes actually make the rule set slightly closer to each other. Okay, so it's something that happened. Of course, Jiu Jitsu on the gi, it's not allowed, the heel hooks. So then you have some locks in ADCC. I'm not gonna go into detail here. It's not the purpose of this video, but some spine locks that it's actually allowed in ADCC, but not allowed in IBJJF. Okay. the difference is that, of course, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a martial arts, as a self-defense, as combat sport, you have the philosophy of progression and control, closing the distance safely, getting to our grips, progress to take the fight to the ground. Once you fight at the ground, you're gonna pass the legs. So you're reducing the other person's capacity of if there are strikes, headbutts, punches, kicks, you reduce the other person's capacity to inflict damage. So this is the progression of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, and the more you progress, the less ability the other person has to inflict damage to you, and this is rewarded by the IBJJF rule set. And then there's the children rule set, there's the colored belt, no black belt rule set, there's the master rule set, and this is another aspect of the IBJJF rule set, which is safety. Okay, so we have progression, I'm gonna put it here. Progression, and safety. Okay, safety, like having sport for everyone to safely practice. Okay. So these are the philosophical foundations in the development of IBJJF. Of course, as a side note, there's some people that are discontent about IBJJF rule set for different reasons. The heel hooks for no-gi, it is an evolution of IBJJF for no-gi, is an evolution of IBJJF rule set to deal with the current development of Jiu-Jitsu as a whole, and specific Jiu-Jitsu no-gi. Of course, when you have something like safety as one of the foundations of your rule set, I can understand that changing a rule set can take time, can be slow, see, because you have to think about overall safety. ADCC, which was founded in 1998, was the first competition championship. It is based on patronage. Okay, patronage. IBJJF it's a company. Okay, it's a private entity, which is a federation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but non-governmental. It is a for-profit, not related to a government body, let's say. Okay, so it's a company. It has its owners, its president. It is the way it's organized as a company, of course, with this ethos, no, to grow Jiu-Jitsu throughout the world, and then the rule set has this philosophical background. ADCC is different because it's based on patronage. You have a member of Abu Dhabi royal family, Bin Zayed Al Nahyan, his name is Tanun, and someone that has practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time, and he liked it so much, and he decided to invest in Jiu-Jitsu, creating ADCC. ADCC is a submission fighting championship. Okay, submission fighting championship, which is not the way it is designed. It's not as only for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, only for Jiu-Jitsu, but for all grappling martial arts sports styles to meet in one place under a rule set, which allows any grappling practitioner to compete against each other. This is a huge difference. Okay, it is. Let me make a copy of one of this. So it's made for all grapplers. Made for all grapplers. Grappling. Oh my god. Grapplers. Not sure about. Anyways, that's the ethos, the foundation of ADCC. You have one person with the financial means of funding, fully funding it, so it's a not for profit in terms of the person putting the money in there. Doesn't expect getting his money back in terms of profit, but to promote the grappling arts and creating this competition, this championship, where someone from judo could fight against someone from wrestling background, someone from catch wrestling, someone from any grappling art. This has consequences, because then how do you have a rule set that can cover different aspects of grappling, where a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a judo, and a catch wrestler can fight each other? Okay. So this needs some changes, needs some specific rule set, which may or may not be aligned with IBJJF, may or may not be aligned with it. Another thing is the influence that someone, that mecenage is the act of someone that has the means of paying for something, of putting money on something, on art. So that's when a mecenas, when a patron puts money on something, he has his say or her say on how the thing will develop. As far as I heard from people, these interviews in Portuguese about people, Jiu-Jitsu practitioners that were very close to this person, to the patron, that he actually had his preferences in terms of how the fight should develop. And for instance, there is something when ADCC is that you get penalized by pulling guard. There's a difference between IBJJF, and then this is something that, as far as I know, it was a requirement by the patron, by the founder, and it has implications in how the styles will evolve. The Abu Dhabi invests a lot in sports and culture, has been investing a lot in sports and culture since the 90s. I know people, and I have friends that they live in Abu Dhabi, and they teach Jiu-Jitsu. The Jiu-Jitsu is part of school curriculum there. So this is something that I find it important clarification. Another thing, if you think about how make this, you have rule set for children. Okay, you have rule set specifically for children to make the art safe, the competition safer for children. And this is part of our IBJJF rule set since its implementation. However, ADCC initially, it wasn't thought for children to be competing. It wasn't. Again, adults, black belt level, fighting each other. Okay, so there's no children here. Now today we have children competing under this rule set. Not for children here. Competing under this rule set. And then there's some adaptations that they make, but it is not part, initially at least, it wasn't part of what it was thought for this rule set. And the rule set, mostly no gi. You can actually have, if you want to have gi on, you can use your gi on ADCC, but it's mostly no gi. But now, when you see children competing under this rule and this rule set in gi as well, when ADCC was created, someone could be there with wrestling shoes, without wrestling shoes, with a t-shirt, without a t-shirt, with a gi if they wanted, or just the jacket and not the trousers but shorts, or without a gi, or you see. But now today we have this rule set used in different ways that I believe that it wasn't the way it was thought for. So it is not my note. Now let's go to the comparison between different point systems. Okay, let's start with takedown. Takedown. Let's get this here, takedown. IBJJF, you get 2 points when you take the person down. The way you take the person down is that, of course, you need to stabilize for 3 seconds. Okay, you need to stabilize. You get the person down and the person stays down. Okay, ADCC, you can get 3 points as well. 2 points, I'm sorry. 2 points. I was looking at 3 seconds here. Let's say 2 points. ADCC, you also get 2 points. Now, there's a difference here that I want to point out, because on ADCC you have scoring period, non-scoring period. The first half of the match, there no score. There's no scoring. There are no points. The second half of the match, there are points. So if a match is 5 minutes and we score 1 minute at 1 minute and 25 seconds, you take the person down, for instance, and you stabilize, you're on top. There's no score. You have to go through to the second half of the match. Okay. And another thing about I'm thinking more about the differences here. Mount. Let's go to mount. Mount. Top. Chest to chest, being on top of a person. Okay, you get 4 points. However, ADCC, you have 3 points. See? This is a difference. If you're looking at IBJJF fight and you have a ADCC mindset, you will see, wow, he got an extra point. And same thing, you are looking at an ADCC fight with an IBJJF mindset. Imagine that you're coaching someone, you don't understand very well ADCC rule point, you are trained at IBJJF rule points, IBJJF rule set, and then there's mount, and you're expecting 4 points, and say, oh, 3 I don't understand why, what is missing? See, so this is a big difference. I would like to make a note about takedowns, because when you get in ADCC, when you get someone taken down, a proper hip-on, and you end up with back on the floor, full back on the floor, and you end up with you pass the guard. You go to the side of the person's side. Okay? You actually get 4 points. Same thing. IBJJF mindset. There's a takedown and proper, clean, beautiful takedown on the side. You got 2 points. But here you got 4 points. Different. This is different. The sweeps. Okay, you have sweeps as well. Sweeps. Sweep, 2 points. Okay, you're on ball. You end up on top. 2 points, okay. ADCC, 2 points as well. However, if you end up on the side passing the legs, you get yourself 4 points. Okay. So these are the main difference, the biggest difference we have. Another big difference that is interesting, and sometimes if you're not familiar with ADCC, you get a little bit confused. And even if you know about IBJJF rule set, it's a little bit confusing when someone, for instance, starts competing and then gets into these specific situations and doesn't understand how it works. Cumulative points. Okay, you can, if you pass the legs, IBJJF, and mount straight away. Okay, if there's the concept of a guard. Okay, the guard is when you use one of 2 legs to stop the other person from progressing. Okay, this is a guard. And when you pass these legs, when you pass the guard, you are awarded 3 points. Okay, 3 points guard passing. This is related. No, the idea is like if you are standing up, in a self-defense situation, and the leg, when if you're using strike, something like a kick on the face is a very powerful strike can knock someone down. And you pass the legs, you reduce the capacity of the person on bottom, creating damages. So it is awarded 3 points, guard passing. But when you go, you pass a guard and then you mount straight away, pass a guard and mount, you accumulate 7 points. Okay, 7 points. For ADCC, you need to stabilization, okay? Stabilization. You need to stabilize the position, always stabilize. The rule here is always 3 seconds. Okay, 3 seconds stabilize. So you get a position, 1, tiki 2, tiki 3, tiki stabilize. Okay, I got the point. Then progression. The accumulative points, it works as well when you are in the mount situation, chest to chest, top chest to chest, mount. Okay. If you are in the mount, you're controlling mount, you got your 4 points. Now, without you doing anything, the other person gives the back to you. And then you get the control, upper body control with your arms, and the lower body have control with both legs. Okay, you have the hooks on both legs. You get other 4 points. And imagine that the person that has his or her back controlled now places his or her back on the floor, and you end up on top. Control again, chest to chest. End up to mount. 4 points. You see? You end up with 12 points. If you're not familiar with this, there's no progression, but it's actually something that, yeah, you mounted, you took the back, and you mounted again. So this is rewarded. The last thing that I would like to mention now is the back take. The difference, how we look at back take. Here, let's put it here, back take. Okay, back take, chest to back control. You can do a body lock. And you get your 3 points, okay? You can get body lock and you get the 3 points. For IBJJF, it wouldn't be awarded points. The body lock, if you get you're controlling the back and you get your leg, one of your legs across the abdomen, and you lock this foot that has passed across the abdomen with behind your knee, your other leg's knee. This is not rewarded in IBJS. You can take the back if you take IBJF, take the back with body lock, no points. You specifically need to have both legs next to each other in front of the body. Okay, then you can get your 4 points. Okay, 4 points. If you're an ADCC person and you're coaching someone IBJJF rule set, and then he took his back, there are no points. Why there are no points? Maybe you took the back with the body lock, which wouldn't be a point situation. And then if there's a body lock, there's no point, and the person being in the receiver end of the back attack managed to defend. The points are not awarded, but the person initiating the action will get an advantage. The last thing is the advantages, how it is counted. Let's get to this example, simple example. This is IBJJF specific, okay? You have 2 points, one side 2 points, 0 advantages, 0 penalties. Okay, on the other side, 0 points. Let's get 15 advantages. And just to make things simpler, for now we're gonna have 0 penalties. No submission, you have this score. Someone got 2 points, but the other person got 15 advantages. Okay, 2 points, 15 advantages. And let's give it more context. Imagine fight starts and A, let's put A here, and B, or B. A gets, fight starts in the first 15 seconds, A gets a perfect takedown with a perfect takedown. Okay, 2 points, and but this is the only thing that this person can actually score throughout the competition. The other person, B, doesn't manage to make any points on A, but putting the other person at risk over and over again with submissions attempts, with back takes attempts, with guard passing attempts, everything, let's say everything. The person very active and just scoring advantage after advantage. At the end, this person has 15 advantages. This person, 2 points. This person is winning. Okay? Doesn't matter the number of advantages you have. As long as one person has more points than you, the other person wins, even if you have 100 advantages there. Okay, this would be different. Then because points are 0, now we have to look at the number of advantages there. This is something that we need to take into consideration, and it affects strategy as well, because if this person A got 2 points throughout the half end of the match, this person may change this strategy, playing a more conservative games to keep this score as it is, to not allow B, this other person, to score anything. See? Otherwise, if they get to 2, if there's 2 points, if there is a takedown from B, then A would lose. This is just a note to show how the way you score the match, it also affects the behavior, the fighters, the behavior themselves. Now let's talk about ADCC. When you have 0 and 0 score, okay, 0 points. You're talking about a final, which is 20 minutes, and there are no scores. Okay, no one got a point. What do? They get one overtime. This one overtime lasts for half the length of the match. If you are talking about the final, which is 20 minutes, the overtime is going to be 10 minutes. The 10 minutes for qualifying, okay, before the finals, gets 5 minutes overtime, only if it's a draw. Remember, only if it's 0-0. In the overtime part of the match, in the extension, there are points throughout the whole overtime. Remember that if you're talking about a finals with 20 minutes, you are going to have the first 10 minutes of the match without points. The second half, the 10 minutes with points, if we have this case 0-0, there is one overtime only, and then within the overtime, points are on. Okay, let's finish here. I think that I said everything I wanted to say in this part. I hope that you find it interesting, useful, and maybe you learn something new. Maybe you got entertained a little bit. At least I was asked by someone if I would do like a presentation with images and all sort of things. And maybe next time I can. Let's see, because I'm not even sure if people how much interest people have in this type of content. And but there isn't any type of animation or videos that I'm showing you, but there's the information itself, and my view is that the information itself has its own value, at least under my perspective. Thank you very much for staying with me for these, I believe, 4 hours, and have a great day.